In this video, we're going to show you how to install a belt brake switch in your dryer. Install your belt brake switch. It's very easy. On this model, it actually mounts to the motor bracket. On your dryer, it may be in a different location. It may be off to one side and mounts to the frame. Whichever the case is, that's where you're going to want to put it back. So for this model, it has a protective shield that you're going to slip into place first. Once that shield is on, we're going to want to mount it onto our motor bracket. In this case, for this model, we have to lift our idler pulley and slide that onto the bracket. Then we can lower it. And there's one screw that holds this one in place, and we'll install that now. Some models there'll be two screws, but for this one there's just the one. We'll tighten that screw up. And that switch is installed, so you just need to put the assembly back into the machine. So now in order to put our assembly back into place, we just want to make sure that when we lower it in, we line up these tabs, these fingers, so they slide underneath through these holes in the bottom plate. So we just bring it into position. You want to move those harnesses out from underneath it. Now that we have that lined up, we'll just need to put our screws back in. And there's two on the back side. Same type of screws. So now that those are installed and tightened up, we're just going to hook up our electrical harnesses. And we'll start with the one for our belt brake switch. We just slide that into place, push it on. We'll do our motor next. That's our big connector. Just push it into place. Your tabs are locked on. Now we just have our thermostat ones to connect. And again, they'll only go on the one they're designed to fit. So you can't mix them up. So now our next step will be to put the drum back in and put our belt on. So I'm just going to use my belt as a little bit of a handle in order to put it in. I'm just going to bring the drum into place and set the back groove onto these pulleys. So with that drum in place, I'm just going to hook up my belt. I'm just going to reach in and find the belt, put the back side of the belt under the idler pulley, raising the idler pulley up, taking the excess, pulling it over as I raise the idler pulley, and just flip the ribbed side of the belt onto the motor pulley, and then just release it, and our belt's in place. So now we'll want to install our front bulkhead. And again, we'll want to make sure we get these rollers underneath that bottom edge of the drum. And one of the nice things about this manufacturer is this piece bolts to the front of the cabinet, but it also has these locating tabs that go into these slots on the cabinet. So it makes it really easy that once you get it in place and it's locked down into those slots, you can walk away and nothing's going to fall apart or fall on the floor and cause a big panic. So you just bring it in. I'm going to lift my drum a little bit so I can get those rollers in there. And now I'm just going to line it up. Now that that's settled in place, I'm just going to put the screws in to hold it, two on either side. The next piece I'm going to put on will be the lint filter blower housing. And since we're right here, we may as well make our electrical connection for those sensor bars. And since we have that all together, we may as well just put our lint filter into place so we don't forget it. We'll take our wiring harness and just secure it into one of the keepers. So now we just need to put our top bracket into place. And the first thing we're going to want to do is just bring it into place and secure our wires into those little clips. On this manufacturer, they use a metal tab here that has to go into this slot. We just rotate that in place. Now I'm just going to hook in one side closest to me. And now I just need to put our screws in. So as well as that one for the bracket, we also have this one here that holds that control board cover. Like I say, your model may not have that on it, but if you do, you'll want to put a screw in it. So now we'll be ready to put the front back on. So on this machine, there's brackets in either corner that go into the slots in the front. So all we need to do is just bring our front into place, set those brackets so they come up through those holes in the front, bring our front forward, and at this point we're going to want to take our harness for our door switch and make that connection, and then just bring the front forward and allow it to lock into those catches. And then just put our screws in. So now that we have our 4 screws in across the top, we just want to put these 2 back in for the front panel into that lint filter housing. Now we just want to put our console in place. And of course we're going to want to do our electrical connections. And we're just going to push those together till they snap together. Now with our electrical connections made, just going to bring our console. And the console has a couple of long fingers, and they just go into these holes in the front. Give it a little push to make sure all those latches across the top are settled, and then we just need to put our top on. So to install the top, we just bring it up into place, set it on top, slide it forward. Once it's in place, we'll just put the screws back in. In this make machine, it only has the 2 screws. On some manufacturers, they'll have 3, possibly even 4. However many you've got, that's how many you want to put back in. And that's how easy it is to replace the belt brake switch in your dryer.